Activity within the realm of space exploration began to ramp up once more as the holiday season ended. Elon Musk just gave a new timeline update for its Starship Orbital launch. In addition, Voyager Space also announced new developments for its Starlab Commercial Space Station project. These are just some of the exciting developments in space exploration early this year. So buckle up, cause we'll be learning more of these updates in this video. Following a successful static fire test of Booster 7 on November 29th, SpaceX was forced to temporarily shut down operations at their orbital launch mount. They said it's due to concerns over damage sustained by the concrete pad which supported the structure. But it's understandable that no concrete can endure the immense power generated by 11 Raptor 2 engines or the repetitive trials leading up to the event. Therefore, the testing facility has undergone maintenance and modification. One of the most obvious changes to the testing facility is upgrading the berm, which is a barrier between the launch equipment and the tank farm. This structure, composed of compacted earth and concrete, is designed to shield the tank farm from the impacts and debris produced during static fire tests. The berm has been reinforced with additional concrete and stands taller than before, and engineers are still working on routing drainage and other plumbing through that area, but it looks almost finished. Additionally, repairs have been made to the area under and around the orbital launch mount. Before the November 29th static fire, SpaceX had replaced the concrete under the launch mount with a fast-curing, heat-resistant version. However, the test still left marks on the fresh concrete pad. As a result, they have been rebuilding parts of the concrete pad with stronger material and replacing some of the orbital mount's plumbing with potentially sturdier versions. But even these changes will likely need to be replaced eventually due to the immense force generated by these new rockets. These super heavy rockets are pushing the limits of what their infrastructure can withstand, as seen by the damage suffered by NASA's infrastructure during the SLS launch. Speaking of maxing out launch hardware, SpaceX is using this opportunity to evaluate if their orbital launch platform can support the weight of a fully loaded Starship. Typically, testing of this nature would have been completed long ago, but SpaceX did the testing anyway, knowing they wouldn't have to test a fully fueled and stacked vehicle for quite some time. It was inevitable that they would have to wait a while before attempting to build a fully fueled Starship. Damage was revealed during the Booster 7 test fire, necessitating a halt in OLM testing, but everything turned out for the best in the end. Meanwhile, the rig SpaceX built for this experiment is getting much attention. This model and animation result from an extensive study by Zach Golden and 3D artist Ryan Hansen. It demonstrates how the testing rig is designed to function by tucking on each of the 10 sets of hold-down clamps at a range of regulated force levels. After securing the Starship rocket with the hold-down clamps, the entire spacecraft may be lifted into the air with minimal risk of damage. Therefore, the engineers must determine if these clamps can support the 4,536 metric tons of weight that a fully fueled Starship would have. Using this new gear, technicians at SpaceX may now apply up to 250 metric tons of force to each axis of the OLM. That's around 110% of their rated capacity, giving them an extra cushion in case something goes wrong. Moreover, the gear appears to function thanks to a counterweight station that the crew installed underneath the OLM, and experts will be able to test and closely monitor the necessary weights using this gear. In addition to putting the OLM through its paces, the SpaceX crew has also cryo-proofed Booster 9. They did this by cycling cryogenic fuel to assess its stress absorption capabilities. And of course, the development of new Starship transportation has continued running. On December 15th, while parked on suborbital Pad B, Ship 24 underwent a brief static fire test, but just now, portions of Starship 28 and Starships 25 and 26 were sighted in the bay together. Images released show that as the team gains experience and the infrastructure is finished manufacturing these vehicles, has become considerably more streamlined. Elon Musk has also updated the schedule for the launch into orbit. We still have at least 2 or 3 months of testing before we see any major developments, says SpaceX's chief executive officer. On January 7th, Elon tweeted that they have a good chance of launching in late February or early March. Now, before we continue, I'd like to thank you for getting this far. And if you want to know more exciting updates, then make sure to watch this next part. Furthermore, reports say the international aerospace giant Airbus has joined the Starlab project by Voyager Space. Voyager Space announced their new cooperation with Airbus on January 4th, stating that Airbus will be providing technical design help and expertise for the new commercial station. One of the first commercial space stations is the goal of the collaboration between Voyager and companies like Nanoracks and Lockheed Martin. Their ultimate objective is to aid the transfer away from the aging International Space Station by NASA and other international entities. Airbus not only delivers technical know-how and experience, but also the possibility of expanding into a new market. CEO of Voyager Space, Dylan Taylor, stated the company will be partnering with Airbus to increase the size of Starlab's ecosystem. Their mission is to aid the ongoing LEO microgravity research of the European Space Agency and its member space agencies. The capacity of any future commercial space stations to house government entities will determine whether or not they will sink or swim. And once the International Space Station is decommissioned in 2030, Lockheed Martin and Voyager Space's Starlab will be a good replacement. Meanwhile, Nicolas Maubert, the French embassy's space counselor, says there's no assurance Europeans will be happy spending tax cash on a project primarily controlled by the United States. He suggests that if more European businesses and ISS partners engage in the Starlab project, European politicians could be more amenable to this arrangement. And until international governments build another publicly owned station, everyone wanting to reach low Earth orbit will have to deal with private stations or the Chinese. However, as we are now in a period of transitional space operations, it is only natural that we take some time to reflect on the numerous innovative approaches that have been developed. An agreement between Starlab and Airbus is an example of a collaborative effort that will help soften the blow. Moreover, it is not the responsibility of the partners in the Starlab programs to ensure the comfort of any particular country. Governments that want their tax money invested in national space infrastructure must either build their own stations or cooperate with ongoing endeavors. The head of the German space agency, Peter Graf, explains it best when he says they need to discover new collaboration methods. The startup Impulse Space, headed by famous rocket engine designer and former SpaceX executive Tom Mueller, has also made an important announcement. He stated that their orbital transfer vehicle Mira will be going on its first trip by the end of this year. We expect SpaceX's Transporter 9 rideshare mission, on which the LEO Express 1 mission will fly, to lift off in the fourth quarter of 2023. You see, every time we send a rocket into space to drop off satellites, we have to plan the rocket's course such that it will at least pass through the same orbits those satellites were designed for. This is because the higher stage of the typical rocket doesn't have enough fuel for much wiggle room. Furthermore, most satellite payloads do not have the space to store the fuel required to go into their orbits independently. This is why we have transfer vehicles. Upper stage payload vehicles are often tiny, specialized spacecraft designed to make the most economical use of a rocket's fuel and power. Such a system can function as a payload taxi, delivering CubeSats and other tiny payloads into their desired orbits. The transfer vehicle provides missions with a great deal of leeway since it increases the scope of the operation. And since it lessens rocket specifications, it's likely driving increased demand for spaceships. D-Orbit, Momentus, and Launcher all operated their own transfer craft. According to Barry Matsumori, the COO of Impulse and a former member of SpaceX, the growth of the business is paralleling that of space transportation. He also mentioned that business has been booming in the last 3 months, with more clients coming through the door than in the previous 6. But the mirror's superior functionality is what truly sets Impulse Space apart. The business claims the vehicle has been tested extensively with a payload of 300 kilos. Some claim that Mira's Delta V, or acceleration or deceleration capability, is greater than 1,000 meters per second. Matsumori retorts with some background information stating that most people worldwide have a relatively low Delta V for their body mass. According to Impulse, Mira will be the pioneer of a whole line of vehicles they want to create. The Mira improves their capability to aid in orbital insertion at distances out to geostationary. Their goal is to create a transport system for outer space that is analogous to Earth-based transport but with capacities from a space pickup truck to a space 18-wheeler. Nonetheless, with the premiere of the mural, Impulse's schedule is completely booked for the remainder of this year. They are also prepared to collaborate with Relativity Space on the 2024 launch of the Terran Mars lander, the first commercial Mars mission. As Matsumori predicted, the next space race would be won or lost on the backs of those who invest in space infrastructure. There will undoubtedly be many novel approaches to this area during the next several years. And when the smoke clears, they'll have a reliable space transit system that stretches from Earth to Mars. So what are your thoughts and reactions to these amazing space exploration updates? Let me know in the comments section below. And while you're at it, make sure to smash the like and subscribe buttons as well. Now, if you want to know more about what to expect for SpaceX this year, then make sure to click and watch this video right here and enjoy. And that's the end of this video, guys. See you next time!